What's up, guys? This is Kyle over here at the Horror File. I'm actually coming back to you guys with a disturbing movies review. This movie can be considered, and I haven't done one of these in a little while. It's been a couple of weeks, maybe a month or two since I've done one of these disturbing movie. I had this series going, and I just kind of stopped. I had a lot of other stuff going on, but this movie can be considered by some to be disturbing. I put this in this kind of category because it has a lot of disturbing elements to it. There's a scene in this movie that really made me kind of cringe thinking about it, which I don't really. I've seen so many horror movies and stuff. It's hard to get me to cringe, but just the thought of this kind of got me going. This movie is a 2005. It's considered a thriller movie, but it does have a lot of horror elements, like a ton of horror elements to it. It's a thriller horror is what I call it. This movie is called Hard Candy. I'm sure a lot of you guys probably have seen this. I had seen it a long time ago and just wanted to revisit it really bad. I hadn't seen it in a while, so I figured I'd watch it. It's almost 2 hours long, but it's well worth the watch. I would definitely recommend if you haven't seen this movie. I'm going to give you a brief synopsis of kind of what's going on in this movie. This movie has a super simple plot to it with a twist. I'm not going to give you that twist, but I definitely recommend checking it out if you haven't seen it. This movie is directed by David Slade. If you're not familiar with him, he also directed 30 Days of Night, which is one of my favorite vampire movies of all time. It's great. I'm not a huge vampire movie fan, but 30 Days of Night is one of those movies that I can watch over and over and over. I love that movie. The scenery in that movie is great. It stars Ellen Page from Inception and Juno, and also Patrick Wilson. Ellen Page is very young in this movie. I want to say this is one of her first movies. Or it's definitely her first biggest movie, because I know this movie it didn't gain a ton of money, but it made about 8 times what the budget was for it. So, and Patrick Wilson, I love Patrick Wilson. He was in Insidious, and he was in Lakeview Terrace. He's been in a lot of recent kind of movies, thriller, horror movies, and stuff like that. I think he's a great actor. But basically, the plot of this movie, it's a really interesting plot. So the movie opens up, and it's got Patrick Wilson on his computer, and he's chatting with a girl on the computer. What you don't know is that this girl is 14 years old. And what he does for a living is he is a photographer, and he takes pictures of models, and basically gives them picture clips. Or does whatever a photographer would do for models. Takes pictures of them, they put them in ads and stuff like that. But a lot of these, the little twist to that is a lot of these models are underage, is what he's telling Ellen Page's character in this movie. Apparently, he says he knows the legal side of things. These models have all these models have an agent that goes with them, and he does it all in good taste. It's nothing pornographic or anything like that. But it opens up. He's on an instant messenger chat with Ellen Page's character, talking to her, kind of flirting with her and stuff. And they end up meeting up at a coffee shop. So they meet up. They're just having a normal conversation. Ellen Page's character, you can tell, is very smart. She's very highly educated. She just knows what she's doing. Patrick Wilson's kind of treading on pretty hot water, if you ask me. I mean, if I was a dude, I'm not meeting up with no 14-year-old. That's just straight jailbait, and it's just gross, to be honest with you. But this guy's like 18 years older than Ellen Page's character, and he's meeting up with her, having a conversation at a coffee shop, which is kind of, if you did that nowadays, most people would be like, what the heck's up with this? Is that his daughter or something? But they meet up. He kind of hints at that he might want her to come back to his house, and she's like, yeah, I'll go back to your house. They go back to his house. They just keep talking. They're talking about medical stuff, about a bunch of interesting stuff, honestly. And basically what happens is he brings out some liquor, and Ellen Page's character makes a couple of screwdrivers for both of them, which, now that I look back on it, I don't think Ellen Page, her character, I can't remember their names in the movies. I'm thinking off the top of my head, but I just can't remember them, so I'm just going to call them by their actors' names. But Ellen Page's character, I'm pretty sure, didn't put alcohol in her drink, but I don't know. That's one of those things that kind of leaves up to you to kind of figure out. But as things go on, you start learning a little bit of background on Patrick Wilson's character, and you hear a bunch of stuff about Ellen Page's character, but right off the bat, I just wasn't really sure if a lot of the stuff that was being said was true or not about what she was saying about herself, her background and stuff. as things go on, he ends up passing out. Patrick Wilson's character ends up passing out. She starts taking some of her clothes off. He starts, taking pictures of her and stuff like that. Obviously, very illegal. And he passes out. She pretty much drugs him. She spikes his drink, I guess you want to call it like that. He wakes up, he's tied down to a chair, and at this point in time, it's when he's tied down to the chair, it's kind of the second act to the movie. This is where all the really crazy stuff starts happening. I won't get into all of it because I don't like spoiling movies like this. This movie is super easy to spoil. Like, I could tell you 2 sentences and that would spoil the entire movie, and I'm not going to. But I will tell you a scene this was the scene that made me cringe. So she starts torturing him, and you don't really know why. You're just like, okay, at first you're not really sure why, but then you find out there's an underlying meaning to why. Obviously, some of it has to do with him going toward younger girls, but there is an underlying reason why she's there. She knows him, knows a lot about him, and is doing this to him. And you'll find that out at the end of the movie. I forgot completely about the little twist in this movie at the end. But you do find out. And the scene that makes me cringe was there's a scene where she has him laid down and she's pretty much castrating him. She talks about castrating him. It doesn't show the procedure being done, but you can hear it. There's like little sound clips of it. It sounds like you can hear it. And just the thought of castration to me, that just, it just makes my skin crawl for some reason. Because he was laying out on the table and it looked like it was actually going to happen, and he was just like, the hell with it, just do it to me. I mean, to kind of sum up this movie, I really do think it has a lot of disturbing elements to it. It's not very graphic as far as like to see. I mean, they don't really show a lot of this stuff that's going on. They don't, there's not a lot of, there's some blood, but there's not a ton of blood. There's not a lot of gore or anything. But just the thought of this, there's a lot of torturing going on. There's pedophilia going on. It's very disturbing element. And then there's a little twist at the end, which is, I'm not going to say what it is, but it's another kind of disturbing thing that could happen. And it's just very real to me. Like, I feel like this, Patrick Wilson's character, those kind of guys exist. And it's kind of scary to think about. I would give this movie, I really enjoyed this movie. I really like this movie. It's very well directed. The actors are very good actors in it. They do act out the parts very well. Patrick Wilson ends up being kind of like a creep. I mean, you find out at the beginning he's like this really kind of business guy. He looks really cool. And then he ends up being a creep. I give this movie about 8 out of 10. I really do enjoy this movie. I've always liked this movie. I remember back in the day I really liked it. I just don't remember a lot of it because it's been like probably 7 or 8 years since I've seen it. I recommend checking it out. It's one of those movies that, depending on who you are, it could be considered disturbing to you. I know a lot of people that have seen this movie and they're always like, yeah, you remember the movie with the guy that gets castrated, blah, blah, blah. And it's just one of those things that kind of sticks in your mind. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. If you've seen Hard Candy already, like this review if you like it, and leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought of the movie. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you're just kind of coming across this, it'd be awesome if you guys subscribe to the channel. And until next time, peace out. Deuces.